Echo Fangray Warfield. Welcome to Kung Fu Havoc number 2. We are going to talk about bizarre um, lives that come on TikTok. I'm also on TikTok live right now, so hey, brother Dale. Sensitive video, man. Sensitive video. Sensitive live. Okay. So as I said on the live, I will say here on the YouTube, there are some bizarre ass live TikToks that I have stumbled into, and we're gonna talk about them right here, right now, because there are a lot of people who believe that the Earth is still flat. They also have a map on Google Flat Earth, and they will show you that the Earth is flat and on a floating rock, and it looks like Omega from Mass Effect. For those who have not played Mass Effect, please Google Mass Effect. You go visit Omega in Game 2, and you revisit Omega in Game 3. And that's pretty much all you need for that right there. But I'm hanging in there, Dale. Just talking about these strange-ass debates that I've stumbled into. So, cool. Hopefully I'll still be on. Enjoy your Saturday, Dale. Anyway, so one of the debates, we gotta touch this one first. Flat Earth. Flat Earth is a strange-ass debate. There's a young black man, I do not know his name, and even if I did, I'd leave it off for his well-being and sanity, and we wouldn't want anybody going out there and thinking he's totally insane. Hello there, Holly. How are you? You may not want to be here for this one. This has nothing to do with martial arts. It's just the weird debates that I have stumbled into on TikTok. So, yeah. This is going to be a strange one. Thank God I'm only, saving the YouTube portion of this, where I will read out questions or whatever. But, as I was saying, there's a young man who believes that the Earth is flat, and that the Earth is surrounded by a ice wall, and we are in a dome floating in space. Like Earth itself is a space station. Earth has been cut in half, and we're floating in space. And there's the sun, but the sun is above all of us, and they talked about gravity and all kinds of crazy shit. You know, I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm damn sure not going to say he's right. Because I did ask a question in the audience, and they totally ignored me. So my question, if you get this young man, you might want to talk to me about it in private or whatever, and that's fine. But honestly, if the Earth is flat and we're in a dome, why aren't the whales falling through the dome? Now, why aren't they going through the ice and stuff? Because whales have to breathe air, and if we can't get to the bottom of the sea and we're in a dome, we're on a floating round dome according to the flat Earth theory, and we can't get. It's night in Asia right now, but it's daytime here. And he thinks it's daytime everywhere, and that they cut off the lights on certain parts of the Earth at the time. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Hey, brother. But I don't honestly think that the Earth is flat. And then they don't understand how, I guess, eyesight works. From right here in this little hole, I can see that building way over there. And I'm short, and I'm down in the ground. No, I'm not at level ground and sea level. I can see all the way over there to where my eyes have a limit. Once I get to the 7th tree, there's an iron rail there. That's it. But this young person believes that the Earth is flat, and that it's supposed to be daylight in every part of the Earth at the same time, and nighttime in every part of the Earth at the same time. And again, perspective is everything. And I'm not going to go against his perspective. I don't believe him, but I'm not going to say he's wrong, because anything is possible. But the way they're talking, they remind me of this movie called Dark City for anybody who has not seen that. It's probably older than all of you because I was like maybe between 14 and 20 when it came out. It has Keith Sutherland in it, and it has Jennifer Connelly. So somewhere between 95, 89, 90, 95, somewhere in there. Just go Google it. It's called Dark City. And in that movie, there were aliens who had somehow managed to take a whole city off the earth. And they were humanoids, but they weren't human. Kiefer Sutherland was a human that was their lackey who walked with a limp. And he injected the tuning power to one human who eventually will wind up taking these guys out. And I think Dark City might have been based on a independent comic or graphic novel. I'm not going to swear to it because it's been forever since I've seen it, but it was a good movie. It was The Matrix before The Matrix was The Matrix, if you're old enough to know what Dark City is. So this young man, again, he showed us all these things yesterday about Earth being round, Earth being flat. He talked about the sun, he talked about gravity, he had a big-ass debate about it. And I am fucked up on it. Because I'm like, okay, let's say, for instance, that he could be right. But that does not explain gravity. It does not explain the rotation of the Earth. It does not explain a lot of shit. But there were too many arguing back and forth and nobody was listening. But I was listening. But nobody answered my question about why the whales in them haven't broken through the ice wall at Antarctica or the North and South Pole, because you can't control sea life. Like, other than an ocean world where they've been trained since they was little babies and shit, you can't control sea life out in the wild. So if the Earth is flat, whales in them would have dropped the fuck off this planet by now and been floating in space. They'd be dead, but they'd be floating in space. And space is ice cold. They also didn't answer my question about the space station. Because we have an international space station where Americans, Chinese, Japanese, Russian astronauts of all international are up there. But they brought up something about Buzz Aldrin, and some little girl or some little boy asked him to swear on the Bible that he's been in space, and Buzz Aldrin apparently refuses. Now, as a veteran of the military, and I come from a military family, I know there are things in the military that we aren't supposed to discuss. There are things in the military that we do not discuss when we get out. Now, we are not sworn to secrecy because, one, I wasn't in the Army long enough to learn any secrets outside of that I was taught about Fort Benning, Georgia being ready for the fucking zombie apocalypse. And that of the ammo dump at Quantico that my uncles and them had told me about. Hello, dear friend. How are you? But the thing is, these debates on TikTok be getting bizarre as fuck. This was like the most bizarre one because, you know, I'm into supernatural shit. You know, I'm into spirits and all that other shit because I'm part native. So I kind of have to believe a little bit about Sasquatch and shit. We'll save that for another, like, the end of the damn live or whatever, for anybody who gives a shit. But the Earth being flat, alright, that one fucking kills me. Because I'm like, yo, dude, they tell us in school the Earth's not flat. And I'm not going to say the dude is wrong. But if we're in a biosphere floating in space, how come we manage to stay on the same trajectory around the sun if we're floating around the sun, and we have not collided with any of these fucking planets, like, at all? And on that theory, because they did bring up aliens and shit like that. Now, here's my personal thought on aliens. Y'all do not have to accept it. You do not have to like it. But respectfully, I honestly believe that they're already here. You know, people have talked about reptilian life forms living under Earth forever. And if you watch enough TV with these Finding Bigfoot shows, they've talked about how Bigfoot is already part of the government and all this other shit. And I'm not one to put that past anybody. Alright? Because a lot of native legends, especially in America, a lot of native legends have said that there has been good Bigfoot and bad Bigfoot. Or to be politically correct, there have been good Sasquatch and bad Sasquatch. Or furry men. Or forest giants. Whatever ethnicity of your indigeneity of that area, they have a different name for each one. In America, we call him motherfucking Bigfoot. And if you ask tribal people, they generally call him Sasquatch or they call him something else. Sasquatch is easier to pronounce for some people. Bigfoot is easier to pronounce for others. And then when you start getting into spiritual shit like Coyote and Ringaroo or Ragaroo or whatever the fuck you want to call that vampire and the Dogman and the Skinwalkers, I'm into all that shit. But as a person who's part native, I kind of have to be. Alright? But for the Earth to be flat and for us to travel around space, because there's no gravity in space, no one said that there wasn't any true gravity on the moon. It's just different gravity. I'm pretty sure that every planet has gravity or they probably wouldn't be able to hold itself together. But I'm also not a scientist. I'm also not a chemist. I'm also not a science fiction expert. I do like science fiction movies. I do like scary movies. But in the reality of thinking that the Earth is flat, I got questions. I've seen the flat Earth map. And like I said, if you're a Mass Effect fan, that shit looks just like not Andromeda. It looks just like Omega, where Arya rules. It's like a big fucking rock with a dome on top. Which is what they're trying to say with the flat Earth theory and the flat Earth map. We can go on about that all day. I don't have that fucking kind of time. So, another debate that I stumbled into was about racism. We're not going to spend that much time here on that. Racism exists. Reverse racism is a thing. I've experienced it personally. And if you haven't experienced racism on any level, please thank the Creator. Because racism sucks, man. And if you haven't experienced it directly, you may know someone who has experienced it, so you experience it indirectly. And then you feel powerless because you can't really help them. And that's some shit that I wouldn't wish on anybody. All through school, my mixed ass has experienced racism. I didn't experience racism from natives until I was well out of school, into my 20s, my early 20s. But prior to that, I had racism from blacks and I had racism from whites. I had 2 incidents from natives, only 2, versus the thousands that I've had from blacks and maybe 7 total incidences from whites. You know, and that's a really fucked up ass overhaul, but that's where it ends. And I still experience racism to this day. Just like bullying. Bullying is a thing. Racism is a hyper form of bullying and easier to bully people with race because I don't know a human being on earth, no matter what your race is, I don't know a human being on earth who's not sensitive about their race. Alright? Me being multicultural, me being rejected by all 3 of my heritages on some level or another, I know what that shit feels like. It's the same damn thing as the high school bullies, the middle school bullies, and the grade school bullies because I got bullied a lot by race. Oh yeah, I also got bullied in high school by how my ugly ass couldn't get girlfriends. Okay? Ain't much changed. But I didn't get any taller because I got bullied for being short too. You know? And the thing about that is, you know, racism is the uncomfortable conversation. No one wants to sit down and address it. And until we do, it's always going to be a fucking problem. It's always going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem until I'm dead. I'm 48, so I got 1 foot in the grave. So it doesn't matter. If we're not going to sit down and address race, it's never going to be addressed. And like I said, I take 2 people of every ethnicity and set them in a room and let everybody explain what we like. And then everybody explain what we don't like. And I almost guarantee you, the top 3 things that we like. We like eating. We like smelling good. And we like being left the fuck alone. No one wants to be insulted because of something that they didn't have a fucking choice in. You don't get to pick your parents. You don't get to pick your ethnicity. You don't get to pick your gender. You don't get to do any of that shit. When you were created in your parents' womb, you didn't go, hey, I want to be a girl. No. Nature decided what you were going to be inside the womb. You don't get a choice. All right? But you don't have to stay with that choice. No. You know who you are inside. You might not match who you are outside. But you don't get that choice from birth. And then the government comes along and assigns you a race. All right? I'm multicultural. I'm registered as a black person on my birth certificate because there was no multicultural, and other, 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 was not really an option in 1973. That was only an option on job applications. That shit wasn't an option on birth certificates. So anybody born mixed in the 50s, in the 40s, you were whatever the fuck the government assigned you. Even if you biologically wasn't that, you were that. Because a lot of natives are put on the list as mulatto. Alright? That's a smack to the face, but there it is. And unless you are federally recognized and born on a reservation or something, 9 times out of 10 if you were born in a hospital, they didn't know what the fuck to call you. Mulatto. No. Unless you were born in a foreign country. If you're born in a foreign country, but you're American, they were like, American, etc., etc. Go check that shit out. Do your research. I could be wrong there. But I know I'm right about the mulatto part, because they took a lot of indigenous people and just decided you weren't going to be indigenous, we're going to name you mulatto. Simple as that. And for those who don't know what mulatto is, mulatto could be anything of this high yellow color to just about my color with the same kind of hair as me, but not a lot of black features. Okay? Just go Google it. It's a horrible thing. It's racist at its best, but it is what it is. And like I said, when I apply for a job, no matter how many times I put down black, you see the looks that I get when people are like, are you sure? And I'm like, dude, my birth certificate says I'm black. My driver's license says I'm black. You're going to tell me I'm not? I mean, it is what it is. Now, I am mixed native. So when people ask me personally what I'm mixed with, I let them know. But when I fill out that application, oh, my ass is black. Without a shadow of a doubt. Because you're not going to fire me for lying on my application. And in Virginia, you can be fired for lying on your application. For the littlest of things. Which is, again, when I go fill out a job application, they're like, why'd you put black? I was like, because I am. They're like, yeah, sure, you're black. And it's like, you don't want to be Mexican. I'm not Mexican. You know, I get that a lot, but I'm not Mexican. I also get Filipino a lot, but I'm not those. I am mixed native, but that's not written on the thing. Then it's like, well, why don't you check all of the things you are? And it's like, because I don't want to get fired. I don't want to be ousted, and then they were like, well, now you're being racist because now you're not picking your heritage. When the fuck did that become an option? What the fuck does that have to do with my job application? But this is Virginia. That's what they do. They find little tiny things. I know people who got fired for lying on their application about their race. Okay? So therefore, you know, we don't do that. But these debates that you come into on TikTok, they will totally fuck you up. So we've covered racism, and we've covered the flat earth theory. Now, sensitively, we're going to talk about pro-choice and not that. Alright? In other words, abortion. I've stumbled into some abortion debates that will blow your fucking mind. Recently, one of the women that I follow came across my FYP. She's pissed off. And I'm more pissed off. Because somewhere in whatever state she's in, just had a 14-year-old girl have a baby from her rapist. Her rapist gets no time. And they said, what the fuck did they say? The lady said on her that I follow, she said that they said that there was an opportunity for the young lady. It's like, that does not undo the fact that she was sexually assaulted and had to bring this baby to term. And in another state, somebody that I follow just said something about their state's about to do the same thing. About now giving the woman the right to choose what's happening with her body after she has been SA'd. And I'm like, dude, what the hell is wrong with America right now? I'm strongly pro-choice. And I don't think that using abortion as a means of birth control is right by any means. But if I have a child and she is SA'd, I don't give a fuck where I gotta go. And y'all forgive me or y'all can hate me. I don't really give a damn about that. But when it comes to stuff like that, because I got sisters, man. If my child, which I don't have, was SA'd and Virginia banned abortions. And the only place we can go is California, New York, or Florida. Well, New York's 8 hours. Florida's 12. We go into one of those states, come hella high water, and if I have to go to jail for that after that, that's fine. Because it's kind of messed up if someone decides out of the blue that your daughter is looking sexy. Your daughter's 10 years old. Your daughter's 8 years old. That's about the time bodies start changing in some cases. I've read about this. I've read about this in third world countries where girls who are like 7 or 8 years old are popping up pregnant by some jackass, and most likely that asshole came from America because they wanted to have S with children, under the age children. She's been all over the news, all over the place. It's not on TikTok because we're not making people aware of shit like this happening because we get blocked, or we get silenced, or we get banned, which this might happen to me today. But if you are allowing an adult to sleep with a child, you should be struck by lightning. Not once, not twice, but every time that thought comes across your head. And you know where you should be struck by lightning from? Especially if you are a male, right smack dead in the goodie sack. That would be the nether regions for those who are not aware of physical human body parts. In other words, his male sexual organ should be eradicated by lightning every time that thought comes into his head. Then grow back and strike it again. But, people don't view the world the way I view the world. So, y'all take that as you will. But this shit can't stand. And then, on top of that, the lady that I'm talking about, she says that it's a female congressperson that's voting for this shit to happen to little girls. In the back of my head, I'm thinking to myself, I'm a man. And I don't want to see a little child go through any of that shit and be forced to carry the baby. And again, my opinion, and y'all can take it any way you want. But for a woman to put another woman in that position is blasphemy. That is like, that woman that does that to another woman is the devil. I'm sorry. That woman that hates another woman or any other woman so bad that if this child is forced to sleep with an adult or carry an adult's baby after a SA, man, this is a special place in hell for that person. And I'm going to be there to Dean Winchester the shit out of your ass. Because there are some things that you just can't stand. And you can't let stand. And if you are a woman and you are in Congress and you are watching this, the first time that you forget that you are a female, because you are at the table with a bunch of men, which is a small step, but you with a bunch of men and you voting in the same area these men are voting, so that your gender of humanity, your fellow females, can be SA'd, and you're voting yes, they got to carry that child to term. You're a piece of shit. And that goes for every female who agrees that females do not have the right to choose what they do with their body. Now, here's the thing. A dude came across my FYP. I love him. I follow him. And he was 1,000% right. We as men not only need to be taught self-control, but we need to teach younger men self-control. That we need to teach men that women are not just a sex object, but they actually are a person. But we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Why are we not doing that? Well, one, I don't have children. But for the people who do have children, what's the problem? I know what I was taught as a child. I know that my uncles and them taught me about girls, and I need to do that, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. And when it comes down to licking the box and all that other sexual stuff, I know about that. But here's the thing. There's a law that says the woman actually has to consent. You can't just go and Pepe Le Pew the shit out of people. That shit's not cool. And for those who do not know who Pepe Le Pew is, because I'm old and you're not, Pepe Le Pew was the cartoon skunk from Looney Tunes that always took advantage of the cat that he thought was a skunk because she somehow got white paint on her back. And he kept trying to S.A. her. Okay? That's me putting that nicely. Y'all go watch some Pepe Le Pew and see if I'm wrong. Pepe Le Pew was a bad motherfucker. But he was a fucking deviant. I'm trying to word this so that I don't get banned. It's Pepe Le Pew. And for all medicinal purpose as a cartoon, if you watch it as a cartoon and leave it in a cartoon, you're going to find it kind of funny. But when you take the cartoon out of that shit and see it for what it actually is, yo, SA ain't just RAPE. You know, he's groping female cats. He's doing all kinds of shit that, you know, you need permission to touch a female on her body. Pepe Le Pew is like, fuck that, dude. I'm going to do what the fuck I want. She's going to fucking like it. Which goes back to the debate of pro-choice, pro-life, and all that other shit. Her body, her choice. Don't ever let that be the fucking downside of the option. It is her body. It is her choice. You can't change her mind. And you decide that you want to SA her and then force her to carry the term of the monster within her because it wasn't her choice. Then you are a piece of shit. And if you are female and you support that shit, may God have mercy when it's your child on the chopping block and your daughter has been SA'd by some jackass because you decided, hey, this is cool. We're all about this life thing, but we don't give a damn about the person that's already alive that was just innocently walking down the street. The 10-year-old, the 8-year-old, the 12-year-old, the 13-year-old. You know, I don't really know when women all start their menstrual cycle, but some women have been known to start their menstrual cycle at fucking 8 years old when they're not even in fucking middle school. So it's not impossible for an 8-year-old to become with child. But if you're a female and you're supporting, hey, Johnny down the block's looking at your child. You go to work one day and Johnny down the block breaks into your house. Guess what? It's spring break. You're not at home. Nobody else is there. But your daughter's there. Johnny down the block is now Johnny on the spot. And Johnny on the spot just robbed your daughter of her fucking innocence. And you want her to carry a abomination to term. Because you're the congresswoman that supported that fucking shit. Instead of thinking, hey, you know, when I was a woman, I got looked at bizarrely by strange-ass old alcoholic men that attempted to do things to me. I was too scared to tell my parents. And you think an 8-year-old little girl ain't going to be too scared to tell her parents? Get the fuck out of here with that. And that's the problem with people in power. They forget where the fuck they came from. Again, I'm going to get off this topic because it's going to make me mad. And again, I have 5 sisters. One of my sisters has 2 adult daughters who have daughters. Okay? So what kind of man would I be if I didn't defend these girls? You know? My other niece, who's the sister of the sister that has 2 daughters and 1 coming, just had a daughter. I have another sister who has 1 daughter. I have another sister who has 3 daughters. All school-age kids. My second generation of nieces range from 11 to 4. And if you think for a New York minute that I'm not going to worry about them for the rest of my life because some perverted-ass jackass looked at them the wrong way because they're pretty and decide he wants to take them when we blink. And then the government decides, hey, I'm sorry your 10-year-old niece got assaulted, but she's got to carry that for 9 months and bring this thing into this world that wasn't meant to be here. Because it wasn't her choice. You know, we all talk about consent. We always talk about consent. And we always talk about consent when it comes to girls having consent with boys at a certain age. And in Virginia, the age of consent is 16. I got nothing to do with the age of consent. I don't really give a crap. I'm fucking 48. Consent is like the top thing of my life if I'm going to be with a grown woman. But I'm not going to be looking at a 16-year-old and be like, huh. We all know what happened to the old white guy that thought that shit and fucked himself up. But, you know, if you're going to look at a child and have those kind of thoughts, first, don't make a video about it. Second, keep that shit to yourself. Everybody got a little bit of psycho in them, but goddamn, don't record your shit. Don't, oh, I'm going to be on TikTok and talk about this 16-year-old girl with big jugs. No, dude, shut the fuck up. Every man has probably thought that shit. and then moved on about their business because they know that that is not their lane. They can have the fantasy all they want, but they're fucking up when they're having the fantasy. Let that shit go. She is a child. But hey, hey, who am I? I'm nobody. Nobody's listening to me right now. But at that same time, these debates on TikTok, man, they are some strange ass shit. I know I jumped off racism and I'm jumping off of this pro-life thing because of the simple fact it's only going to make me angry when I think about what my nieces have to look forward to. Now, and my great nieces, what they have to look forward to. I got to worry about them learning how to choke people out. Because, even though when you consent to shit, some people still don't think that they don't have to listen to that. They think, oh, well, she said no. Watch this. I'm going to do it anyway. We got to start raising our boys right. We also got to stop lying to our girls and start telling them, look, if you want to have sex, there's nothing wrong with it. But don't believe the hype about getting pregnant and that boy is going to stay with you forever. It's bullshit. And finally, to the parents, because I don't have children, your child's going to have sex. Whether you like it or not, your child's going to have sex. The best damn thing you can do is prepare that child. You can prepare that child to use their brains. Because they... See if I can word this right. Right words of mouth can talk your kid out of their clothing. Alright? And if your kid is 15 or 16 and then there's peer pressure, and peer pressure will make a person have consensual sex. I was peer pressured into sex. I took one for the team, if you would. Alright? I did not want to have sex with her. But at the same time, I did not want to be called gay. I didn't want to have everybody say that I was a coward and I was scared to have sex. So I was in high school. I think we were freshmen. And I took one for the team. And I regret it and I don't regret it at the same time. Is that confusing? Because it was confusing to me too. But I remember it. It wasn't like, it was like, there was no way out of it for me at the time. At least that's how I felt. And most men, we are too scared to say no to sex. When a woman is throwing it at you, most men are too afraid to bitch out on it. I haven't met too many men in my generation that were like, okay, well, it's a sure thing. She's saying no. She's rubbing all up on me. And what can I do? I don't want to, but then you have a problem with your mind and your body reacting differently. Because sometimes your body will react even if you don't want it to. In the nether regions, women, y'all probably don't have that problem. But for men, I definitely have had that problem. So that's how that shit happened. And it was consensual and it was sexually protected because there were condoms involved. But at that same time, I really didn't want to do that. Now, and this girl also had a boyfriend, which I really didn't know about. So I don't even know how I got there. But it did happen. So it's over, it's done. I'm 48. That was well past 20 years ago. But the point of the matter is that men don't know that they also can say no. They also can consent or not consent. And there's nothing wrong with not consenting. I didn't know that at the time. I know it now. But, age and wisdom. But for the sake of all women, any women that's in power in Congress, if you don't stand up for women, I'm sorry, this is the last time I'm going to say this, but if you don't stand up for women, and you're a woman that's like a congresswoman, or you're somebody with power, you're a piece of shit. Straight up. You're a piece of fucking shit. I'm sorry y'all feel that I might be a little bit bizarre there, but you are a piece of shit. And I'll be right back. I got to end YouTube, but the live's going to go, my battery on my